Ever since Batman teamed up with Robin, sidekicks have become a staple of the superhero landscape. Plenty of heroes have had a protege they take under their wing to teach them to be more effective crime fighters. Less often seen is the supervillain sidekick. Typically, the villain will settle for hired help as opposed to becoming a mentor figure to another villain. But it does happen from time to time. Welcome to Top 10 Nerd, I'm Andrew Boyd, and today we will be looking at the top 10 villain sidekicks, stronger than you think. There is a fine line between henchman and sidekick, so let's quickly go over the definition. Oxford defines a sidekick as a person's assistant or close associate, especially one who has less authority than that person. A big part of sidekicks in comic books is their boss taking them under their wing, so mentorship and personal closeness with the villain they serve is what I'm looking for to classify a character as a sidekick rather than a hired hand. With that in mind, let's dive into the list. Number 10, Scarlet. When Jason Todd's Red Hood first returned from the dead, he was much more villainous than he has since become. Yes, he was a vigilante, but in the context of the stories he was appearing in, he was a Batman villain. In Battle for the Cowl, he even tried to murder both Tim Drake and Dick Grayson. After Dick Grayson became the new Batman while Bruce Wayne was dead, Jason created a more flamboyant Red Hood costume and even took on a sidekick to help him in his insane and murderous war on crime. Sasha, otherwise known as Scarlet. Sasha was the daughter of one of Professor Pig's henchmen, who tried to leave Gotham when things were getting too intense. Pig found out about this and decided to capture the man and his daughter and turn them into members of his Dollatron minions. This process involved disfiguring surgeries and brainwashing. Her father was converted, but Pig was stopped before the process could be completed on her. She smothered her father in prison and was rescued by Jason, who took her on as his murderous sidekick. This career was short-lived, and she is not as effective as other sidekicks. However, she did manage to defeat and capture Damian Wayne through a strategic use of a taser and a knife. When Jason was defeated by Batman and Robin, Scarlet fled town, never to be seen again. Number 9, Harley Quinn. Harleen Quinzel was a psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum who fell in love with one of her patients, the Joker. He manipulated her into breaking him out of prison and joining him in a lifestyle of murder and mayhem. Harley meant nothing to the Joker, but he was able to use his manipulation skills to keep her around for years, being his most consistent and trusted assistant. She took on his clown gimmick as her own, through makeup or by a dip in a chemical bath, depending on the continuity. Despite being a psychiatrist, Harley is a skilled martial artist and acrobat, being able to defeat most of the foes she comes across with relative ease. She eventually realized how toxic her relationship with Joker was and went out on her own, eventually becoming more of an anti-hero at this point. Joker has since taken on a new protege, Punchline, but really, she's just a replacement Harley that DC created because they couldn't use Harley as a straight-up villain anymore, so why talk about it? Number 8, Talia Al Ghul. Daughter of the infamous League of Assassins leader Ra's al Ghul, Talia witnessed the death of her mother and was put in the care of her father. Together, they traveled the world, and Talia was trained by her father to emulate his skills and intellect. She eventually fell in love with Batman, and Ra's orchestrated a false abduction of her and Robin in order to test Batman's skills and see if he would be a suitable heir. Batman, of course, refused to join forces with Ra's despite his feelings for Talia. Talia eventually became the heir and would go on to become the leader of the League of Assassins whenever Ra's is dead. Her and her father have a tense relationship due to her conflicting allegiances and his willingness to sacrifice her for the greater good if needed. She is the mother of Damian Wayne, Batman's biological son and the current Robin. Speaking of which, number 7, Injustice Nightwing. In the Injustice universe, Superman snaps and becomes a real dick. He decides that criminals cannot be allowed to live and sets about exterminating them. When he gets to Arkham Asylum to end the lives of its inmates, Superman is confronted by Batman, Damian's Robin, and Dick Grayson's Nightwing. Damian has always been the most bloodthirsty of the Robins since he was raised by assassins, and he actually has a higher body count than even the Red Hood. So perhaps it shouldn't be too surprising that he actually agreed with Superman that the criminals should be destroyed. This led to an argument with Nightwing that resulted in Damian throwing one of Nightwing's weapons at him. Damian expected him to dodge, but Dick was distracted because of the massive prison break that was happening, and it hit him in the head. He fell to the ground and broke his neck. Batman blamed Damian for Dick's death, because it was entirely his fault, and this led to their relationship becoming damaged to the point of no return, and Damian was taken under Superman's wing, and he eventually took up his fallen brother's mantle as the new Nightwing. This Damian considers Superman more of a father than Bruce ever was, but this is actually just a manipulation on Superman's part to get an ally who is well suited for helping him take out Batman. This is evidenced by how Superman sent the mass murderer Victor Zsasz after Alfred, knowing that Batman's refusal to kill Zsasz even after the death of Alfred would destroy any chance they had of fixing their relationship and solidify Damian's loyalty to him. Number 6. Karai. Last time I talked about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I got their names and weapons mixed up, because honestly, I never got into them as a kid, since, you know, the cartoon stopped airing when I was 2, so I'll have to be careful with this one. Karai in the original comics is an agent of the Foot who comes to New York after the death of the Shredder and sorta takes things over. When the 2003 animated series, which I also never watched because I was strictly a Batman kid growing up, when that series came out, Karai was given more backstory. The audience learned that she was Shredder's adopted daughter who he had taken in and raised after she was abandoned by her parents. He trained her in ninjutsu and she became his most trusted follower, eventually being put in charge of the Japanese Foot Clan. In her appearances in other media in the years since, this new backstory is sometimes adopted, but it's interesting that her status as Shredder's sidekick or co-worker really just depends on which version you're exposed to. In the 2012 animated series, she can also spit venom and transform into a snake girl, so that's kind of fun. Number 5. Terra. Terra Markov was a member of the Teen Titans, but unbeknownst to her teammates, she was actually the protege of the team's arch-nemesis, Deathstroke. She was feeding information to Deathstroke, which he used to capture the Titans, but when Deathstroke's son, Jericho, used his powers of possession to use Deathstroke to free the Titans, Terra thought she was being betrayed by her mentor and snapped, collapsing the hive complex they were in down around her and crushing herself to death. Terra had the power of geokinesis, which means that she could earthbend. She used this power to throw rocks, which she could also sharpen to deadly points with her mind, and could even cause earthquakes at will. She could use this power to rip rock or earth from the ground, which she would stand on and cause to fly at great speeds, giving her the power of flight. Years after her death, she was made a member of the Black Lantern Corps, and her zombified corpse returned to life with the powers of a Black Lantern ring in addition to her usual power set. Number 4. Dex-Starr. Dex-Starr started life as a stray cat in Brooklyn. He was adopted by a woman who took him in and gave him a pretty wonderful life full of love and yarn. When his owner passed away in a home invasion gone wrong, Dex found himself back on the streets. When two rather cruel humans decided to have some fun by putting him in a sack and throwing him off of a bridge, a red lantern ring, sensing the rage in the cat's heart, granted Dex the powers of a Red Lantern. Dex-Starr has since become a regular member of the Red Lantern Corps and is probably the most powerful cat in the DC universe. And don't underestimate him. He is extremely brutal and violent and is responsible for the deaths of several humans, a Yellow Lantern, and at least one Black Lantern. Although he has sworn vengeance for the life of his original owner, he still enjoys a good cuddle from his new master, Atrocitus. Despite Atrocitus's typical brutality, he shows a real soft spot for his cat, often referring to him as a good kitty, and flying into a rage if anyone hurts him. Normally I'd say this makes Dex a pet, not a sidekick, but I think he qualifies as both. I mean, Superboy's sidekick for years was Krypto the Superdog, so I think this counts. Number 3. Inertia. Thaddeus Thawne is a clone made up of Thawne and Bart Allen's DNA in the 30th century. His power is to slow down time around him, giving him the appearance of super speed. He operates as an independent villain for the various Flashes, even managing to kill Impulse before being captured by Wally West, who slowed him down to the point where he was essentially a statue, which Wally then put on display at the Flash Museum, forced to look at a statue of the speedster hero he'd killed for the rest of time. He was eventually freed by Hunter Zolomon, aka Zoom. Zoom then took Inertia under his wing, renaming him Kid Zoom. Although very powerful, his time as Kid Zoom was cut short when he killed Weather Wizard's son, resulting in the Rogues teaming up and taking him out with extreme prejudice. Number 2. Kristoff Vernard. When Dr. Doom returned to Latveria in Fantastic Four number 247, he discovered that a revolution had taken place, and he had been replaced by a man named Zorba Fortunov. He came across a young boy named Kristoff and his mother, who were still loyal to their former leader. Kristoff's mother was killed by a robot, and once he had regained control of his homeland, Dr. Doom took in Kristoff, raised him, and eventually made him his heir. Kristoff is a super genius, much like his teacher, having a knowledge of science and magic that apparently rivals even the original Doom. When Doom was killed in battle, Kristoff was made the new Dr. Doom, but the Doom bots transferred Doom's memories into Kristoff, making him think that he was the real Doom. This of course led to trouble when the real Doom returned, and upon defeating Kristoff, Doom had him deposed and sent into exile. But the two eventually patched things up, with Kristoff stepping in as Latveria's interim leader whenever Von Doom is unavailable. Number 1. Nimona. Nimona is the lead character of the graphic novel of the same name by N.D. Stevenson. It tells the story of a young girl who decides that she wants to be the sidekick of the greatest villain in the realm, Ballister Blackheart. She has magical powers that allow her to shapeshift. She can use this power to disguise herself as someone else, or to become any animal she wants. She's only limited in the fact that the animal has to be a real creature, but that's not much of a limit, as she lives in a world where dragons are real. She also has an incredible healing factor, having healed arrow wounds and a decapitated head with little to no trouble. The story soon goes in a direction where it is clear that Blackheart and Nimona are operating as villains in order to liberate their homeland from an evil dictatorship, which of course opens up a lot of thematic ideas of what actually makes people villains, but it is a cool read that has been adapted into an animated Netflix film which is scheduled to be released sometime this year. Any other villains who have powerful sidekicks? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe for more Top 10 Nerd.